Ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It's UFC 314 fight week. We have 13 highly entertaining fights scheduled for this weekend. I'm Jon Kelly. Let's hear the picks. Kicking things off in the women's bantamweight division, we have Nora Cornolle, a minus 170 favorite. The comeback on Haley Cowan is plus 142. And this is one where it's a low-level fight. I think on one side, on the Cornolle side, you definitely have a power advantage. I think she has more upside to have the bigger moments because Haley Cowan basically is just not a very good fighter. She doesn't have much of a ceiling. Previously fought on Contender Series, lost a 29-28 decision to Jamie Lynn Horth in her UFC debut, and she's very low volume on the feet. She comes from a tumbling background, so she's very athletic. She's very strong in the clinch. She usually mixes in some takedowns, but her wrestling is not very good. She doesn't have good control either, and she's basically no threat to find a submission. Whereas Cornolle actually has shown power at the UFC level with those knees. She's got powerful punches as well. So even though Cornolle is not high volume and she's susceptible to getting taken down, those would be the reasons why I don't like the price on Cornolle. But because I do think she has a lot more upside in terms of the bigger moments and the clear power advantage, that's why I still slightly favor her in this fight. But in terms of the official pick, we'll say it's Cornolle by decision. And next fight up, we have Marco Tulio, a minus 340 favorite. The comeback on Gore is plus 280. And we'll start on the Tulio side. This is a guy who I think is a very exciting prospect for the middleweight division. He previously fought on Contender Series. He was one of those repeat guys. First time he fought Belgrui, the kickboxer, beat him pillar to post basically for 15 minutes, didn't get the contract, comes back last season, wins by spinning back fist knockout, and gets the contract. Looked good in his UFC debut as well against Ihor Potieria, got the finish inside the first round. This is somebody who, like I said, does have a legitimate skill set, has the power on the feet, trains with Bronx Oliveira, a lot of really good grapplers in that camp, so he has the ground game as well, holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I actually think his cardio is very solid as well. It checks out. And so those are going to be multiple advantages over a guy like Gore, somebody that I've never been historically very high on. He's low volume striker on the feet. Sure, he's got a little bit of power, quick hands, and he has shown those really powerful chokes over his last couple fights. However, I think Tulio, the volume is going to be a clear advantage. I mentioned the cardio as well, especially for somebody that's not high volume like Gore. And then the grappling, I still think Tulio's the better grappler if he were to go that route. So this is going to be one where Tulio's a big favorite, but I think it's warranted. I think he gets his hand raised here. We'll say it's Marco Tulio by TKO. That's the official pick. Next fight up, we have Mudaerji, a minus 160 favorite with Mitch Raposo on the comeback at plus 140. And Mitch Raposo has seen a healthy amount of line movement in his favor, and I think it makes sense because you know what he brings to the table, right? Like, he doesn't have much of a striking game on the feet. He is a wrestler by nature, but he's a pretty solid wrestler. He works very hard to get the fight to the ground. Now, he hasn't gotten that first win at the UFC level. He previously fought on The Ultimate Fighter as well, was one of the top prospects on that season, and he ended up losing very early in that competition. So he's somebody that really hasn't quite lived up to the hype, but this is a somewhat favorable matchup for him against Mudaerji, who's very one-dimensional. This guy is known for his striking power on the feet, and he's known for not being a good defensive grappler. Most of his losses across his career have come by submission. You look at his last fight against Charles Johnson, that one went to a decision, but he got hurt there. He got taken down multiple times. You look at the Matt Schnell fight where he basically had Matt Schnell dead to rights, and Schnell comes back out, grapples him, and submits him. Tim Elliott takes him down, submits him inside the first round. This dude just simply cannot grapple. You also have seen more recently the double knee sleeves, which is never a good sign, especially as you start to get older in these smaller weight classes. So there is for sure concerns on the Mudaerji side. So like I said, I think it makes sense why all that Raposo money came in when he was at like plus 200, plus 190 area. And to be honest, I would have loved to get in at that price. Now where it's at though, in the plus 140 range, I got to feel like most of the value is sucked out of that, because at this price now, you are really banking on him to be able to get those takedowns, because I think on the feet, Mudaerji is going to have a clear striking advantage, a clear power advantage, a clear volume advantage, and he's also going to be working with an 8-inch reach advantage as well. So in terms of the official pick, I am going to side with the favorite in Mudaerji, but it's going to be a risky one. If Raposo can get the takedowns, he's going to be a live dog. I just don't like the price. I think most of the value's gone. The official pick is going to be Mudaerji by decision. Next fight up, we have Michael Alexuk, a -192 favorite. The comeback on Cedric Dumas is +160. And you guys know me, it is never Cedric Dumas time. Not on my watch. This dude is no good, honestly. Like, he took Cody Brundage to a decision, which basically nobody does. Even in his last fight against Dennis Tululin, where Tululin is somebody that's very known finish or be finish type of fighter, also has never been able to defensively grapple or defend takedowns. Dumas won a decision over him where he basically just took him down and laid on him, did almost nothing else. The guy's low volume on the feet, extremely low volume, has bad cardio issues as well. Don't trust the durability, don't trust the fight IQ. I do not think this guy's very good at all, whereas Michael Alexuk, yes, he has his holes, and he's been submitted multiple times. He's a guy that struggles to defend takedowns as well, so maybe that potential path is there for Dumas, but I would still be surprised, man. Michael Alexuk has fought a way higher level of competition. This is a significant step down for him, and I think on the feet, he's a way better boxer. He's got more power in the hands as well. Dumas's best weapon is that big booming head kick, and he honestly doesn't even throw it all that often because he's just so low activity and looking to grapple. So this is going to be one where I think it's Alexuk. It's always possible that he gets taken down and out-grappled here or whatever, but I just don't see it, man. It's got to be Alexuk for me. We're going to say it's Alexuk by TKO. That's the official pick. And next fight up, we have Julian Erosa, -360 favorite. The comeback on Darren Elkins is +285. And this is going to be rare for me because you guys know I don't like betting on the hashtag olds. And Darren Elkin turns 42 years old next month. But man, if I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted on the damage here, Darren Elkins. Julian Erosa, just seeing him -360 just makes me shiver a little bit because this dude is just, I mean, he's awesome. Huge fan of the guy. His fighting style is very exciting. But you want to talk about a guy that is kill or be killed. Like, he just wants to march forward, trade big shots. He's got good submission grappling as well. But the durability is a massive concern, especially for the way that he fights. It's like he is just oblivious to the fact that his chin is not very good. And I could see him just immediately marching down Elkins, having a ton of success early. But we know Darren Elkins is called the damage for a reason. He is a punching bag on the feet, but he is very good at surviving those storms and then going to his wrestling. The guy's wrestling is still very good. His cardio is still very good as well. So this could be one where I could see Erosa just trying to bulldoze him early, struggle to get him out of there, and then Elkins just doing what Elkins does, taking over, going to the wrestling, and taking over as the fight goes on. So this is going to be one where I might get involved on the Elkins side, potentially, but I'm definitely going to be looking in the live markets on the Darren Elkins side specifically, maybe even some late Elkins finishing props as well, depending on what those numbers are. So give me the damage here. We're going to say it's Darren Elkins by decision. That's the official pick. And speaking of the hashtag olds, we have Jim Miller, who turns 43 in just a couple of short months here. He is fighting on yet another pay-per-view. He takes on my guy Chase Hooper. Hooper, one of the bigger favorites on the card, -900. The comeback on my guy Jim A10 Miller is +600. And, like, full stop, I am expecting Chase Hooper to get it done here and win this fight. The much younger fighter, very, very slick submission grappler. I'd expect him to win a lot of the grappling exchanges. However, we are getting a little bit over our skis in terms of the price here. -900 is a little bit disrespectful to a guy like Jim Miller, who not only can crack on the feet, but also has the grappling to hang with Chase Hooper at times on the mat. Now, like I said, I expect Hooper to win a lot of those exchanges, but what does Jim Miller do very well? One of his best assets is that guillotine, and we know Chase Hooper lunging in on those takedowns, sticking his neck right there. Like, it would not be the craziest thing if Jim Miller snatched that up and Hooper was unable to get out of it. Again, it's a small probability outcome. I think Hooper wins this a large majority of the time, but relative to what this fight is being priced at, that's where I think the value is going to be on the Jim Miller side, even though I expect Hooper to get it done and probably end up submitting Miller in the end. So it's going to be Chase Hooper by submission. That's the official pick. Next fight up, we have Virna Jandiroba, a -148 favorite. The comeback on Xiaonan is +124. And this is a very interesting stylistic clash. On one hand, we have Jandiroba, the small favorite, who comes from a high-level grappling background. She averages over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, holds a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We know what she's going to bring to the table. She fights out of the southpaw stance, but her striking is not very intimidating. She is able to take a couple more risk on the feet because she wants to go to the ground. But that is clear. That's where she needs to take this fight because Xiaonan has struggled to defend takedowns at times. She's struggled to work back up to her feet. While she does have power on the feet and she's a high-volume striker on the feet, she needs to keep it on the feet against Jandiroba because if Jandiroba takes her down, Jandiroba's very solid with her control and always a threat to submit you as well. So this is going to be one where Xiaonan certainly has the power to hurt Jandiroba, but if she's unable to do that, I think she spends a lot of time on her back here and gets controlled, finds her way on the wrong end of a 29-28, maybe even 30-27 if she's unable to find that success on the feet. So I'm going to side with the small favorite here. Jandiroba by decision is the official pick. Next fight up, we have Sean Woodson, a -162 favorite. The comeback on Dan Ige is +136. And we'll start on the Woodson side. This is a guy that's put together a nice little win streak here. He's coming off a first-round knockout victory over Fernando Padilla. And we know what he brings to the table, right? He's a very good boxer. He has that Tayshaun Prince skeleton type of frame, but he is a very good boxer. His boxing is very crisp, very fast, and he does have a little bit of power as well. Very strong jab, but he's a guy that needs to keep the fight on the feet because even though he's been improving his grappling, it's still not to the level where it needs to be once you start facing some of the best fighters in this division. However, his takedown defense is very solid. He defends takedowns over 80% in the UFC. And on the flip side, Dan Ige has certainly fought the who's who of the division, right? Level of competition, he's right up there with the top. He just 2 fights ago fought Diego Lopes, who's now fighting in the main event for the belt against Alexander Volkanovski on this card. He fought Lerone Murphy his last time out, who fought in last week's main event. He's fought Josh Emmett, who fought Lerone Murphy. Like, he literally has fought everybody in this division. And so he's seen just about everything that this division can offer. And he's somebody that has power on the feet. He's certainly not as high volume as Woodson, and his boxing isn't as pretty, but he does have more power. So he could potentially land a big shot here against Woodson. I think he probably needs to because I don't trust him to A, go to his grappling very much, or B, have success even if he does go to his grappling very much. Because he's somebody that is able to mix in a takedown here or there, but usually is not aggressive in taking the fight to the mat. And I think if Woodson stuffs the first 1 or 2 takedowns, like, he's probably just not even going to look to go there. And on the feet, I think Woodson's going to be able to manage that range, use his reach advantage, and just kind of stick and move for 15 minutes until he gets his hand raised here. We're going to say it's Woodson by decision. That's the official pick. And kicking off the main card, we have Nikita Krylov, a -185 favorite. The comeback on Dominic Reyes is +164. And Nikita Krylov is coming off over a 2-year layoff. The majority of that was due to a shoulder surgery he had back in 2023. So he took some time away after that. So that is a concern here. There's potential for ring rust, long time away. I know he's been training, but that always is kind of in the back of your mind, especially with these fighters that are starting to get a little bit older. However, I do think he is going to have multiple advantages here over Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes has seen this little bit of a resurgence in his career, right? Like, he had that bad skid where he got knocked out multiple times in a row, takes some time off, comes back and fights Dustin Jacoby, knocks him out inside the first round, follows that up with a big win over Anthony Smith, where he knocked him out in the second round. However, I don't want to say that, like, all of my concerns about the durability of Reyes is gone now, because Anthony Smith, let's be honest, not the biggest hitter at this stage in his career, also just really didn't throw that much, didn't land that much. And the Jacoby fight, I think he landed like 3 punches. So, like, the chin I don't want there to be this newfound confidence that Dominic Reyes is back and that his chin is good now, because that's still a major concern for me. I think if I didn't have that concern, I might want to back him here. But I think that Krylov, despite the ring rust, this is a guy that's a very well-rounded fighter, lands over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, good grappler, liable to submit you if he gets you down. He's also got power on the feet as well. He can touch the chin of Reyes. This is a guy that fought very closely, tooth and nail, with Magomed Ankalaev. So it's like, I feel like, despite the concerns, I got to go with Nikita Krylov here to get the job done. We'll say it's Nikita Krylov by TKO. That's the official pick. And next fight up, we have Gene Silva, minus 265 favorite. The comeback on Bryce Mitchell is plus 215. And this is another one of those really interesting stylistic clashes, because on one hand, we have Gene Silva, who's everybody's new favorite toy in the UFC, very powerful on the feet, very explosive, very entertaining personality as well. But I do still have some questions on how he's going to deal with the wrestling of Bryce Mitchell, because Bryce Mitchell does not have much striking on the feet. We know he can get cracked and get hurt as well. Obviously, he was submitted by Topuria, and then the nasty knockout loss against Josh Emmett not too long ago. So that's a concern with Bryce Mitchell. But if he's able to get his wrestling going here, we saw Jourdain land multiple takedowns over Gene Silva. Now, Jourdain was unable to control him at all on the mat. But Bryce Mitchell, if he's able to consolidate position, he's actually a very solid control grappler on the mat. So that is a question for me when I see Gene Silva minus 265. Like, I don't feel good about that price. I do still think he wins, because I think more times than not, he is able to find that shot that hurts Bryce, whether he times something as Bryce coming in on a takedown, or he just literally just hosses him against the fence and starts going to town. I think he does end up hurting him and knocking him out. I just don't love the price. In terms of the official pick, it's going to be Gene Silva by TKO. And next fight up, we have Pitbull making his UFC debut against Yair Rodriguez. Rodriguez is a minus 198 favorite. The comeback on Pitbull is 164. And this is going to be a matchup where I just feel like Yair is going to just outpoint him to a decision. I don't think he finishes him here. Pitbull is proven to be very durable throughout his career, but he is getting older. He turns 38 in a couple months. But, I mean, up and down this guy's career, he's very proven, has a win over Michael Chandler, win over AJ McKee. Like, the skill set is certainly there, right? But he is not the best striker, I'd say, not super high volume on the feet. I would expect Yair to probably be doing a little bit more activity on the feet with those kicks, the constant kicking attack. Where I think Pitbull would have an advantage is if he goes to the wrestling. We know Yair is somebody that can be taken down and can be controlled, but I think he's just going to have to prove it to me here. I think Yair, coming off that Ortega loss, I just think he bounces back here. So it's going to be Yair for me. Yair Rodriguez by decision. That's the official pick. Which brings us to the co-main event. We have Paddy Pimblett, a minus 148 favorite. The comeback on Michael Chandler is plus 124. And it's so tough for me to choose. You guys know I'm a huge fan of both of these guys. It's going to be tough for me to see one of them lose here, but it's going to be exciting to see the other guy get his hand raised. And I think that other guy's actually going to be Michael Chandler. And that might be a hot take here because, you know, Chandler, we know the story with Michael Chandler. Very powerful, great wrestling, but really he only just red lines from the opening bell. Like, that's why he's such an exciting fighter. But because he red lines for 7-8 minutes, he dumps after that. The dude has no gas tank after 2 rounds for the most part, because all he knows is just red line from the opening bell. Like, he's going to move forward, try to swing heavy shots, go for these powerful, high-energy takedowns, and that's just not conducive for winning decisions. That's why we like him. That's why people think he's a very exciting fighter, but it's not the best in terms of winning fights, unless you can find that finish early. So on the flip side, Paddy Pimblett is more or less a similar fighter in a couple different ways. For starters, he doesn't have as much power on the feet. He does have underrated power, I think, on the feet, but his striking's not very pretty. He just kind of wings these powerful shots, and he leaves himself open to being countered as well. He's also proven that he could be taken down as well, but he is a very good submission grappler, so I could see him catching Chandler in some sort of submission. That would not surprise me. But where I see Chandler, the concerns with Chandler being a little bit negated here is because people are very quick to point out the gas tank concerns with Michael Chandler that I just talked about. But what about the Paddy Pimblett cardio concerns? This dude is not a track star, right? We saw him basically a walking corpse against Jared Gordon in the third round in a fight that a lot of people thought that he lost. Even in that Tony Ferguson fight, every fight that gets extended, he does not look very good, in my opinion. And if Michael Chandler, if both of them are gassed, I trust Michael Chandler to fight for my money more down the stretch if this were to get extended. So it's one where I could see either guy finding a finish inside the first couple rounds. But if it does turn into a sloppy, both guys get tired, the fight ends up going longer, I'm going to side with Iron Mike here. So give me Michael Chandler. Chandler by TKO. That's the official pick. Which brings us to our main event as Alexander Volkanovski is a minus 122 favorite. The comeback on Diego Lopes plus 102. And man, I really kind of struggled with this one, to be honest with you. It's one of those fights where it's like, it's hard to know just how much the drop-off has been on the Volkanovski side. He's obviously getting a little bit older, and I think the clear thing is now that the durability, this is a guy that was known for being super, super durable, could barely even hurt him, and now he's coming off back-to-back knockout losses. So that is a concern because it's hard to know exactly where the chin is. Like, has it degraded to the point where now he's in the Dominic Reyes conversation? Or is it like, okay, he fought Ilia Topuria, who's one of the biggest hitters in the division, and Islam Makhachev just caught him perfectly. So I don't want to put too much stock into that, but I am aware of it. Now, on the flip side, Diego Lopes does crack on the feet, powerful striker, dangerous submission grappler as well, but he's not a great wrestler. And I also think he's getting a little bit overhyped here. Like, part of me just wants to be like, this is a prove-it spot. Like, I'm going to back Volkanovski, the proven fighter, the guy who we know can fight at the highest level of this division and do so over 25 minutes. Whereas Diego Lopes, you look back at the course of his career, and yes, he has risen to stardom very quickly in the UFC, and for good reason. The guy is a very entertaining fighter. But you look back on some of his wins, and it's like he knocked out Sabatini, who's super chinny. He knocked out Sadiq Youssef, super chinny. He beat Brian Ortega, who honestly is like a punching bag at this stage in his career. And Volkanovski also dominated Brian Ortega back when Brian Ortega was in his prime, and he did so over 25 minutes. So I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these wins that Lopes is getting, he's looked great, don't get me wrong, but he's also just getting a little bit too much respect for me. You look back at the Contender Series fight against Joe Anderson Brito, and Brito has not looked good over his last couple fights. We just saw him get grounded for 15 minutes against Pat Sabatini. You look at Volkanovski. Volkanovski has the skill set to implement a game plan just like that. He also can strike with Lopes over 25 minutes. I expect Volkanovski to have a clear volume advantage and a clear cardio advantage over 25 minutes. And on the flip side, where Lopes has the early, big moment, knockout upside, catch him in a sub type of upside, outside of that, I would be kind of surprised to see him win a decision here over Alexander Volkanovski. So a lot is yet to be determined on Saturday. We shall see. I'm going to side with the veteran here to get it done. We're going to say it's Alexander Volkanovski by decision. That's the official pick. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Best of luck, and we will see you next week.